Confirmed! Florida shooter prescribed psychiatric drugs linked to violence and suicide behaviors. Is anybody going to be shocked about this? Look, at the end of the day, there was the interview where people were actually talking about how focused this guy was.
You are not going to see much emotion from our guy, Brett. This dude is a man David Katz keeps to himself. He's a man of business. He's not here for the experience and to go out, this, that, and the third. He's not here to make friends. He's all business. He's focused, and to even get him to open up to talk to you about anything, it's like pulling teeth, man.
He was heading back to his...
But yeah, at the end of the day, he was very withdrawn from people. And it's always interesting to find out how no one seems to want to talk about gun control now because it was done with a handgun, but nobody originally calls for pill control. Like, at the end of the day, you're dosing kids up on ADD, antidepressants, antipsychotics. Who would have thought that maybe they're going to have a psychotic break and shoot somebody? But let me know what your thoughts are on that in the comment section below. Jackson, Florida, David Krez, who was a 24-year-old male who lost his temper on Sunday morning after losing a video game, began shooting up the esports tournament. He killed 2 innocent people and wounded 10 others before he turned the gun on himself and took his own life. Now we have learned that Kratz had been on types of psychiatric medication known to cause violent thoughts and are linked to many of the worst mass shootings in recent history. Can we please stop giving kids drugs right now? But moving along. According to the family divorce courts, Kratz had been in and out treatment for psychiatric issues ever since the early age of 12. According to a 2006 letter from father's attorney and reported by CNN, Kratz was prescribed a number of psychiatric medications, including an antipsychotic. He saw a succession of psychiatrists. What's more, a 2006 court filing states that therapists said that he had experienced a psychiatric crisis while prescribed these medications. On top of the psychiatric crisis and the reported drug cocktail, CNN also obtained police reports that showed 26 calls for service to the police from Kratz's family home in Columbia, Maryland from 1993 to 2009 for issues ranging from mental illness to domestic disputes. So look, that's roughly once a year. I would have expected it to be higher for someone in his situation. Obviously it's still bad, but once a year is not too bad for his circumstance. But anyway, at least 2 of those calls involved Kratz arguing with his mother, although none of the reports provided to CNN show any physical violence. The Howard County Police Department declined to release the reports for a number of the incidents, citing statutory regulations. Why is it always that these guys are known to the police department? Just, saying. But anyway. David Kratz's past is eerily similar to that of Nicholas Cruz, except that his parents were both feds. Both Kratz's parents reportedly worked for the federal government, according to law enforcement sources. Kratz's father, Richard Kratz, is a NSA engineer employed at the Goddard Space Flight Center outside Washington, D.C., and his mother was listed as an employee of the Food and Drug Administration, according to CNN. Does make you wonder if her job at the Food and Drug maybe made her more supportive for the drug rehabilitation option. I don't know, that's an assumption, but makes you wonder. Since he was a child, Kratz was prescribed a myriad of drugs, including antidepressants, Lexapro, and Ridamsepam, sometimes used to treat schizophrenia. There have been 20 drug regulatory agencies from 7 different countries who have pointed out the dangerous side effects of Lexapro. The majority of the warning are for suicide risk or suicide behavior, which obviously he ended up taking. Other side effects include hostility, aggression, agitation, anxiety, mania or psychosis, irritable, and violence. According to CNN, Kratz's father disputed the necessity of the drugs and the psychiatric evaluation sought by David's mother. Okay, make sure. Maybe the father was onto something here, but anyway. Suggesting that his son instead tend a support group for middle school students, which probably would have been a lot better. Like I said, it does make you wonder if her job in the Drug and Food Agency maybe have made her more sympathetic to that idea. But anyway, Richard Kratz has seen no evidence whatsoever of schizophrenia in David, a motion from his father's lawyers said. Despite the dozens of police reports stemming from Kratz's behaviour, the laundry list of drugs he was taking to treat his psychiatric crisis, the fact that he was in treatment for psychiatric issues, and the fact that it was documented that he had multiple mental breakdowns involving the police, Kratz submitted his fingerprints, underwent a background check, passed a firearms safety training course, and legally purchased a 9mm handgun and a .45 caliber handgun in Maryland last month. As TFTP has reported on numerous occasions, the majority of mass shooters have linked to psychiatric medications that carry serious warnings for side effects on their labels. Stephen Paddock, Omar Motin, Gavin Long, Eric Harris, Dylan Cobalt, James Holmes, and Nicholas Cruz all have one thing in common other than mass murders they carried out. They were all reportedly taking prescription drugs which alter their state of mind and carry a host of negative side effects ranging from aggression to suicide to homicidal ideal tension. I might be a spin us in that, but anyway. There have been 150 studies in 17 countries on antidepressants inducing side effects, and have been 134 drug regulatory agency warnings from 11 countries and the EU warning about the dangerous side effects of antidepressants. Despite this deadly laundry list of potential reactions to those medications, there has been a skyrocket by 400% since 1988. Coincidental, as antidepressants went up, so did mass shootings. Wonder if we might be onto something here. You know, when we're going to start talking about that list. But anyway. The website ssristories.org has been documenting the link between selective serotonin uptake inhibitors, SSRIs, and violence. On the website, a collection of over 6,000 stories have been appeared in local media, newspapers, TV, scientific journals, which prescription drugs were mentioned in, or which would have drugs may have linked to a variety of adverse outcomes, including most of the mass shooters have taken place on US soil. As the Citizens Commission on Human Rights notes, before the late 1980s, mass shootings and acts of selfless violence were relatively unheard of. Prozac, the most well-known SSRI, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, antidepressants, was not yet on the market. When Prozac did arrive, it was marketed as a panoramic for depression, which resulted in huge profits for its manufacturer, Eli Lilly. Of course, other drug companies had to create their own cash cow and followed suit by marketing their own SSRI antidepressants. The issue of psychiatric medications playing a role in mass shooting is not some conspiracy theory. It's very real. Drug manufacturers list their potential deadly side effects on the very inserts of every one of their drugs. But the mainstream media and government continue to ignore or suppress this information. Why is that? Well, it's no secret that the pharmaceutical industry wields immense control over the government and the media, and it's their control which keeps any negative press about their dangerous products from airing. However, most people likely do not know the scope of this control. As Mike Pantino, attorney for host of the international TV show American Lawyers, explains, with the excerpt of CBS, every major media outlet in the US shares at least one board member with at least one pharmaceutical company. To put it into perspective, these board members wake up, go to a meeting at Merck or Pacify, or the company's names, and then have their driver take them to a meeting with NBC to decide what kind of programming the network is going to air. In the report below, Panera explains how the billions of dollars Big Pharma gives to the mainstream media outlets every year is used to keep them subservient and complicit in covering up the slew of deadly side effects from their products. asks, how much longer will these billion-dollar drunk companies control the narrative and let this conversation take place? How many more mass shootings will take place before Americans wake up to reality? Alright, look, at the end of the day, do I think there is a link to mass shootings and prescription drugs? Yes, I definitely do. If you want to talk about reducing that, you definitely need to talk about this. Look, I'm not saying it's the only cause, and obviously at the end of the day you're going to hear the argument that people that are taking these drugs are going to be more prone to violence. Great, terrific, but at the end of the day, if you're having someone already prone to violence, giving them a drug that's going to emotionally numb them or cause possible side effects that are going to exacerbate that condition is not ideal. Now look, at the end of the day, yeah, look, obviously this guy shouldn't have been able to get a gun. He shouldn't have been able to go through, he shouldn't have been able to buy the 45 or the 9mm. That is obviously true. But at the end of the day, we also need to talk about giving kids drugs, especially when the father is literally debating whether the kid needed the drugs in the first place. As he said, I haven't seen anything that indicates that my son needs this. You know, he wanted to take him to a youth camp or whatever it was to get him to do whatever they do. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that would have been my first option. And the reason why I'm talking about this and I'm so passionate about this is because when I was younger, when I was going through school, I went up to Brisbane. It's here in Australia. It's up near the Gold Coast, above Sydney, and I got tested for ADD. They noticed that I only had a 3% differential between the medication and non-medication. But my mother, being the woman that she is, and don't get me wrong, I love my mum, but yeah, she insisted because she wanted her son to be the best that she can be, or that he can be, sorry. So at the end of the day, she insisted. And after that, after the fact that I went through and I was on this medication from grade 8 to grade about 10 or 11, I went up for a re-evaluation. They improved, or they tried to increase my ADD Ritalin medication from 3 tablets to something like 19 tablets a day. Now, I was lucky in the fact that I didn't want the medication in the first place. I sure as shit didn't want it after 19 tablets. And I was lucky that I went with my father, who was against it in the first place as well. So we said no, and we walked out, and I never took any medication since. Now, at the end of the day, even to this day, my mum does not believe us when we turn around and we both say, no, they literally did try to increase it. She still does not believe that, because head's in the sand. But like I say, that in itself shows over the 3-year period how they went from giving kids 3 tablets to 19 tablets a day. Holy shit! I would have been so sped up on friggin' Ritalin that I would have been able to climb the friggin' walls. So, yeah, like I say, I think there is a big problem, even in America, even in Australia, in a lot of Western cultures, where they are over-prescribing medications. I was talking to someone last night, I won't mention names, but they were saying that their daughter was feeling a little isolated, a little depressed, and the first thing that her doctor prescribed the child was antidepressants. Like that. Like, she just handed them out like candy. Now, obviously, she wants the kid to go and see a psychiatrist and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it was like, here you go, here's your antidepressants. Holy shit, you're giving antidepressants to a freaking kid. Like, there must be a point where you sit there and you think, holy shit, this is so bad. We are drugging the kids up. We are drugging them up with all these pharmaceutical drugs which just want to seem to make money off frigging coking our kids up on drugs, so to speak. There must be a point where you sit there and think, this is ridiculous, this is insane, I don't want a part of this. But I don't know, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you think that antidepressants go through and actually exacerbate the situations with shooters? Do you think that there's no link whatsoever? Do you think there is a small link, but there is other major links? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. If this video has been helpful, please smack a like. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great night and enjoy.